What does the image trigger in terms of feelings, in terms of physical sensations?
Panic, I would almost say. So, what I see in front of me is a person cutting a cucumber and has placed their finger under the knife so that at any moment they will not only cut the cucumber but also their finger. And I feel that directly, I would say, like in my chest area.
Okay, good. So these are the negative somatic markers. They signal you to get away from here. It's not comfortable here. It's not nice here. I'll show you another picture. What do you experience in this picture, or what does this picture trigger in you?
I'll make it as a coach, light the spark inside, empower every soul to turn the tide. I'll make it as a coach, help others grow, changing lives with every story I know.
Welcome to the Making of a Coach. I'm Tobi from MetaFox, and this is part 2 of our Picture Cards special with Dr. Jasmin Messerschmidt. And today we're getting very hands-on. Jasmin coaches me on the question, how can I stay more grounded? How can I take decisions intuitively, even when I'm juggling super many projects at work and in personal life? So I guess a classic coaching issue that Jasmin and I tackled with her own picture card method that is based on the Zurich Resource Model. Jasmin helped me to craft a motto goal and anchor that in an image that helps me to stay grounded and centered in everyday life. And just like last time, Jasmin and I had this conversation in English, and we transcreated the episode that's to come to English with AI. So if you see subtle changes in the tone of voice, that's just because of that. And thank you for your understanding and patience. I still found it super insightful and worth publishing, so give it a try. Because even though I worked a lot with picture cards already over the years, I learned a ton from Jasmin here, both from a client perspective, but also from a meta-level coach perspective in the debrief that we are doing towards the end of the episode, where Jasmin takes me into the coach perspective. We are starting with a quick recap of the Zurich Resource Model and then jump right into the live demo. Enjoy!
So, the Zurich Resource Model is a structured self-management approach designed to empower the client to achieve self-chosen goals through their own efforts. It was developed by Maya Storch and Kraus at the University in Zurich and is a mix of motivational psychology, neuroscience, and embodiment. And that is a comprehensive self-management approach used in elite sports, in business, in the social sector, but also in the health sector. I also conduct some courses there because it's often about how can I control my behavior so that I feel good.
For you, the SAM and the training with Maya Storch actually came after you had already spent years intensely working with images, possibly in your doctoral thesis.
Exactly. I dealt with the SAM in the 1990s already. It was about how I can get myself to live healthily, have less stress. So how can you incorporate the unconscious level? And that's when I came across images and the ZAM approach.
Wonderful. So it sounds extremely well-founded psychologically, neuroscientifically, and that aligns very well with your doctoral thesis. I would say at this point, let's go ahead and start our demo.
How are you and what topic have you brought with you? What topic should we work on here?
I think the timing is actually very good for me because I am currently in an exciting phase of life. I would say both professionally and personally, because privately, we are expecting our first son at the beginning of October. That means a lot of change is coming, which makes me excited, but also nervous. I'm getting many warnings from people about how much will change and how priorities will shift. And at the same time, they have already done that in my professional setting anyway. At MetaFox, you and perhaps many listeners know us primarily for the picture cards and the classic educational publishing. And of course, we also want to grow beyond that because as the coaching market and the coaching practice itself change when it comes to many processes also taking place online, then I think, of course, the coaching tools and materials must also adapt to that. That means my focus in my work has also shifted from designing paper cards to developing online tools. And I only managed to do that halfway because alongside, many projects with authors are also taking place. I do a lot of partner development work and just feel like I'm not doing justice to any of these roles 100%. And that often leads to me ending the day thinking, once again, I didn't do what I actually wanted to do. And how will it be when there's also a little baby in the house to whom I naturally want to dedicate a lot of time? That means I need more clarity and more focus in my life.
And what would be different if you had more clarity and more focus?
I think I could end a day with the feeling to have achieved, to have met my partner's expectations or delivered what I want with the quality and also the commitment.
So you want to gain clarity and focus. Is that your concern for now?
Yes, and I believe what becomes possible then is that I am more centered. That I can then also rest within myself when the outside is chaotic, when a baby cries, when the customers want something, when the colleagues want to pull me into this or that project. And yet I still manage to be present and calm in my center.
So you need clarity, more focus, and you want to be centered, present, calm, and at peace within yourself, even when the outside is chaotic. Can we put it that way? Or what else?
Yes, that is very good.
Very nice. Okay. A wonderful method presents itself here, working with images. And normally I would go into the issue a bit more, but since it's a demo, we'll do it with images. I'll jump directly into the method. And for your information, we have two processing systems. You know that we have the mind and intuition, head and gut, and they are very different. They function very differently. The mind works slowly with language, evaluation of right or wrong, and intuition is gut feeling, unconscious, fast, diffuse, and communication through body images. And images are capable of connecting these two systems, which work very differently, as you can see. And if I want to initiate successful change processes, then both systems must be equally involved. So if I'm too much in the unconscious, there is a lot of impulsivity. Or let's take another example. I want to learn to do more sports. If I am too much in my head, then I control myself, suppress the unconscious, then the whole thing is no fun and works at most until it rains or the temperatures are cold. Then I no longer feel like it and let the unconscious take the lead. So this work with images, this Zurich Resource Model, is about involving both systems equally.
And I would now ask you to say what arises when you look at this image. What happens? Do you know where you feel this image in your body? This is a kind of somatic marker check. It's about selecting the images later based on the feeling. That's why we're doing this now. What does the image trigger in terms of feelings, in terms of physical sensations?
Panic, I would almost say. So what I see in front of me is a person cutting a cucumber and has placed their finger under the knife so that at any moment they will not only cut the cucumber, but also their finger. And I feel that directly, I would say, like in my chest area.
Okay, good. So these are the negative somatic markers. They signal to get away from here. It's not comfortable here. It's not nice here. I'll show you another picture. What do you experience in this picture, or what does this picture trigger in you?
The other image definitely makes me immediately open up, relax. And here I now see a beach image with palm trees on each side of the images, which also form a kind of beautiful bridge or gate. And in the middle of this gate, I see the view of the turquoise sea. And it actually evokes a feeling of security because these palms form a kind of gate for me and at the same time something open because I can feel the wind blowing here at the sea and blowing against it a little. And that rather goes along with an open feeling in the chest.
So it opens up more. And the way you describe this image, I can feel the wind directly. And those are your positive somatic markers, Tobi. And it's about when I present the pictures to you, you will then choose a picture that makes you feel good and supports you. Your goal is to work clearly and focused and to stay calm. You choose what helps you with the feeling, with such a positive feeling, with a feeling of moving towards, with a warm feeling. It can be very different.
Thank you.
Then I would like to bring you into a kind of relaxation before choosing the images. Feel how the ground feels under your feet and that you focus on your breathing. You can close your eyes and just focus on your inhaling and exhaling. And then now I will slowly guide you through your body so you can look. How do your legs feel? How do your knees feel, your thighs as you stand there and focus on your breath?
And when you are ready, you can open your eyes again and come back here. And if you like, you can also move a little now if you feel like it. In good contact with yourself, it's now about, I'll show you the deep pictures, the beautiful images. There are 52 images, and I ask you to choose a maximum of 3 images with the feeling that they want to come to you, that evoke a good feeling in relation to achieving your goal, focused and clear and calm, to be in your balance, to be centered, to work through things focused and clear, even when chaos reigns outside. Okay, now you see the pictures here, and it's important that you scan the pictures so you don't go into analysis, that you really choose the pictures that have a very strong feeling, that trigger, that want to come to you, that support you to work clearly and focused, to set priorities clearly and focused, to say no, to be centered, to do good for yourself, to make you smile. And you can simply take them and pull them out here. If you want to a maximum of 3 images. It is important that you leave your mind out of it and let your feelings speak.
I'll definitely take this turtle down here.
Mhm.
I think I'll take the bird's eye view of the water here. I think that's already good.
Thank you. Would you like to say something about the choice of image?
Yes, so I have now here 2 pictures, both related to water. So the first is the turtle, which is in the middle and yet at peace. So that means the turtle just swims underwater and floats a bit, and I feel a bit of the coolness of the water, and at the same time it's calm because it's underwater. That means I have little noise in my ear.
Before you continue, Toby, it's about gathering your ideas, your positive associations, and you've already said quite a lot. I don't know if I can remember everything. I'll write down underwater. What else?
The turtle, it just does its thing, knows what is important to it, and is not affected by the hustle. Maybe some little creatures down there on the seabed. It doesn't touch her. She just floats along. And that's it. That's what really appeals to me. The turtle simply floats through the vastness. And that is also something I can actually see in both images, this kind of overview somehow. She floats here above the seabed and thus has a bit of a bird's eye view. In a certain way, the turtle is also the bird or the drone that made the other image. That means there is an overhead view, not losing sight of the big picture.
If you take a look, what could be around the turtle? Is there anything else that comes to mind?
Yes, I would say a lot and somehow also nothing. In the sense that the turtle is, first of all, just a lot of space, a lot of water. And a lot is happening on the seabed. There might be small crabs and small fish and such, but they don't really play a big role in where the turtle swims and where it moves. I think that's the crucial point. A lot is happening, but it's not that important.
So, and then we come to the second picture, the bird's eye view here as well. What comes to mind with this picture?
Yes, I have already drawn some parallels. So I see the image of a beach from above. That means I can see both the sea and the vastness of the beach and just have a very broad overview. And then there is also a person walking along the beach, but they didn't play such a big role in my selection. So it's more about the feeling of vastness, weightlessness, and somehow the cool breeze that I can feel here when I'm hovering so far above the sea. And that's also a bit of the parallel I see with the underwater image. It's a cool sea. And that also calms me down a bit. So when I look at it now, I have to say, I don't even know if I really need the second image. The turtle image already contains that, this bird's eye view that the turtle also has on the seabed. And that's actually what complements this image. But I actually think I could set this aside and focus more on the turtle.
Yes, that's great. Then I'll make this smaller, and this is the turtle. It's often the case that an image becomes particularly clear. Can you think of anything else that we haven't yet?
The limited view the turtle also has in the ocean becomes dusty at some point and it can't see infinitely far. It doesn't really know what's there on the horizon, and that's still okay. It just swims there.
So she doesn't quite know where she's drifting. Or what does it say like that?
She doesn't know what awaits on the horizon, but she trusts in swimming in the right direction.
That's nice. Then let's move on to the selection of your favorite ideas. If you take a look, which words are particularly important, I'll copy them and go to the board and would simply see which of these you take as your 5 to 10 favorite words, favorite associations. And I also ask you to choose that with feeling, not with the mind, but with feeling.
Just connect me again with this floating, open body sensation. This floating in my center, I would say that's actually the main headline, and not getting distracted. I'll just float here calmly.
So why do you think your unconscious reacts so positively to these ideas, to these words or associations?
I feel this feeling of floating and calm, so actually calmly floating, if we just take that as a headline. That is something I long for very much. So to end a day with this feeling of calm floating, and that's something I can really feel physically in my nervous system, that I just don't have that at the moment, that I often still on adrenaline. Now I'm trying to explain it cognitively again, but I know exactly how that feels.
So what is here now is simply head-gut synchronization, right? That's what you're doing here. That's why the head can be involved.
So I think my head would describe it as a rapid jumping of thoughts from one topic to another. And that is in stark contrast to this turtle, which simply floats stoically in one direction in its center.
Anything else about these words, this association in connection with the image, why it is so important to you? Or would you say it has hit the nail on the head? Perhaps the aspect of trust?
I would say a kind of basic trust plays a big role here, and even more so a knowledge. Simply, I have Master Yoda from Star Wars in mind a bit. There is no try.
If you imagine Star Wars here, does it fit with the floating culture somewhere in the image?
He might be sitting somewhere on a rock at the edge. And this quote, there is no try, that's what I have in mind here too.
And this there is no try means I trust that I am on the right path.
That means a little bit if you feel inside yourself, then you know what is important and what is right. So instead of going into mental gymnastics, and rather to look, not what do I think, but what do I know?
So a lot of wisdom, right? Like intuitive knowledge, as you called it. Which words are particularly important?
I would say calmly floating in my center. And a second one might be this, there is no try. I think that's actually enough. I would say I am centered and have trust.
Wow. What we're doing now is the next step. I think you are already very far along. It's about developing a motto goal formed from your favorite words. So it's about having a motto goal that truly guides you internally and leads you to your goal, allowing you to act clearly and focused. It enables you to end your day in a way that you are satisfied in the evening.
I thank you for the chance to refine it again. Let's do it. I can float in my center. There is no try.
Is this now your motto goal? How many positive feelings does this motto goal evoke in you? On a scale from 0 to 100, would you say?
I am definitely in the 80s.
In the 80s. And negative?
0.
0. Okay. And is that under your control?
Yes, I would say, because especially with this feeling of floating in my center and the attitude of there is no try, that is like a reminder for me to stay with myself and not fall into over-analysis. And I think that's not the answer to everything. I think my cognition is also a strength that I can trust. But that, I don't think I need to worry about losing it. That's why it also feels right for me not to have it here now. And I would say I can stay centered. There is no try.
Or I float in my center. Feel which one resonates the most.
Yes, it's I float in my center.
So that is your motto goal. And in the next step, if we still have time, there will be a kind of systemic review of this motto goal. We have an aligned motto goal. Your body says, that's where I want to go. Your mind says, great, that will help me succeed. Is your goal even practical for everyday life? Does it need a bit of adjustment? Where do you apply it? What are the costs? What is the benefit? So That then goes into a normal, typical coaching conversation. So what would you say, Toby? When would you like to implement this goal, adopt this attitude?
Yes, I'm wondering, are there moments when it's not useful? Because I would say almost never. I think for me, professionally, that is, when it comes to project selection and dealing with my team members at MetaFox, both professionally and privately, in dealing with my emerging young family, it is actually this basic trust, this open floating that I want to take with me.
How can you put yourself in that position? How can you get there? How can you bring yourself to do it?
So I think I will definitely put the turtle on the wall here.
If I may recommend something from my experience, if we were in a proper coaching session, which we are, but if we were to continue the coaching, I would include the topic of embodiment, meaning bringing the goal into the body, and encourage you to find a body movement or a Tai Chi sequence that helps you get into this posture. So you could do that afterward, in addition to this coaching, by considering how you stand, how is your feeling, how is your chest, how are the arms, how are the legs, and then I float in my center. There is no try or whatever, right? That you find a sequence of movements for yourself, body, because the body is in the morning when you start, you can immediately bring it into this embodiment, and then you are your goal. In my experience, this is the most effective method to succeed in focusing and bringing yourself calmly into calmness. So basically the zero position or calibration in the morning.
Yes, I think it would be a kind of standing on both feet and like an exhale, and maybe this movement with the hands, and then letting the hands, the arms dangle, and thus symbolizing this floating. I float in my center, there is no try.
Wonderful. And then you could think of a mini embodiment, a small one that you do in social situations, a socially acceptable mini embodiment.
I think it's more like a grounding movement somehow. So feet on the ground and downward stroke.
Great. Remember and use it as often as possible in the coming days and weeks, because the next step is to form and strengthen the neural network in the brain. Okay, what happens when you implement your motto goal? What will change in your life?
I can remain calmer, even in hectic situations, and thus be more present for those around me.
What do you need to let go of? What do you need to give up? What could be the disadvantages? After all, there is no change without disadvantages.
I can't do so many things anymore. I also have to say no. I am finite, and at the moment, I don't always say yes because I somehow can't say no, but because I really want to work with these and those people and on these and those projects. And I think that will be the challenge. I am finite. That captures it very well.
That is the next step, right? Because there will be situations where you won't succeed. That is the relapse rate. It is always there. It is about working on it piece by piece so that the neural network in the brain becomes strong enough to achieve the goal even in increasingly difficult situations. So at the beginning, there will be situations. These are situations where it is very easy. If you're having dinner at your girlfriend's, for example, then you're centered, no problem. And then there are more difficult situations if I have a pitch or there's the birth or where you can prepare yourself and develop action plans. We would do that in coaching now. We would now develop action plans for difficult situations so that you succeed. And that's like an inner video, a kind of mental training so that you manage to stay calm, to remain centered, even if the office is burning down around you. It's about implementing this motto goal step by step and strengthening it in your brain so that you develop such a strong neural network that you automatically stay with yourself, remain centered, and stay calm. This is work now.
It's starting now. I have that feeling too. Then I say thank you very much for this process. And I would now be interested in my role as your podcast host and interviewer. If we look at this process, how did it differ? Or what would be something you might have done differently with a client in reality?
I wouldn't have added so much at the end. So that came from the impulse to give you a lot. How does it continue? Because there is what could you use to make it work? So that was a real process.
In reality, we would not have just one session, but several. And then one could say, okay, I go home with my image and the motto goal. And next time we will talk about embodiment and work on the movement that lets me float in my center. I think the biggest takeaway when I also compare how I have worked so far with picture cards is this calibration, the picture with the cucumber, like in the finger cutting stress. How does that look in my body as a client? And how does relaxation, openness look in my body? And calibrating beforehand was really very helpful to then choose the image with the body feeling. It goes further than just saying, yes, let your intuition guide you and choose this image with your intuition. I often say that when I guide it. But through the calibration with the body feeling, it naturally takes on a whole different dimension and becomes much more tangible.
Great, nice, I'm glad. And that's also what I pass on to you for your goal in the morning. You need an inward calibration for the body and not for the mind.
What would you like to share as an image veteran, as a super experienced expert in working with images? What advice would you give to aspiring coaches to start with image work?
So I have 2 points. One is pay attention to the body language and less to the client's words. Stay connected with the client on an emotional level. And if you notice it doesn't feel right, you're feeling, you sense there's no energy or something like that. I've experienced that too. Possibly the image is then chosen too much with the head, or it doesn't have this effect because someone comes from marketing and works professionally with images. So pay attention to body language and stay in contact with the client, but also stay connected with yourself. Be in resonance with yourself. That is important. And if one is not sure, then ask. And the other thing is the image belongs to the client. I do not interpret for the client, but the client discovers for themselves what is right for them.
What if I had said, oh, the thing with the images, that's somehow too esoteric for me? How would you have reacted then?
I could have accepted that immediately. I might have asked again, like, really? And what about it could be esoteric? Maybe done another round of advertising, effectiveness, brain research of the third millennium, very important, and so on. But then I would have certainly left it at that. For me, the client is always right. And what is important to me is that the client feels safe and well taken care of, also by the unconscious, so that this head-gut synchronization can occur in coaching. And for that, they need to feel heard and appreciated.
Yes. So above all, create a safe space for your client. With this classic advice, we conclude our coaching demo with Jasmin. The turtle image that I chose to anchor my motto goal is now pinned in front of me on the wall. And it's from the Deep Pictures Originals card set, available both in a printed format and also digitally, as we used it with Jasmin on metafox.eu. We'll also link that in the show notes. And I guess on a coach meta level, my biggest takeaway from today was this calibrating the body exercise that Jasmin did with me. So contrasting a stress image and then a calm image to help me tune into my body. And then with that feeling, select a card set that I want to use for my own motto goal. If you're a coach, facilitator, or therapist and you want to go deeper into this as well, learn about picture card-based work, you can join one of our live workshops that we occasionally do. Now we have one upcoming in Singapore. You can find out more at metafox.eu/experiences. And we are also building a asynchronous online course, which you can find out more about on metafox.eu/learn. All right, enough housekeeping, enough for this German special episode. I'll see you again next week here, back with a regular English episode. And until then, all the best for your own journey. I'm Tobi from Metafox. Bye-bye.